You think winter survival gear is built to save your life, sturdy, insulated, reliable. But what if I told you some of the most popular products on the market today will fail you the moment you need them most? We're talking cracked gear, frozen valves, dead batteries, and in sub-zero temperatures, failure isn't just frustrating, it's deadly. For anyone over 45, your body doesn't bounce back from cold like it used to. A gear failure at the wrong time could trigger hypothermia, frostbite, or even cardiac stress as your system fights to stay warm. And here's the part no one warns you about. You won't see the cracks. You won't hear the failure. You won't feel the danger until it's too late. In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose 7 winter survival items that look tough but collapse under real pressure. And then I'll show you the 2 rare tools that can survive decade after decade without breaking, leaking, or leaving you stranded. If you've got gear in your garage, basement, or bug-out bag, you need to see this. Let's start with product number 7, the one that could leave you freezing just when the storm hits hardest. Number 1. Low-grade propane heaters. You flip the switch, hear the faint hiss, and feel that first wave of warmth. It feels like safety, like the cold is finally backing off. But with one missed click, one blocked vent, or one cheap part failure, that low-grade propane heater can flip from helpful to deadly. Propane heaters are marketed as winter lifesavers, compact, portable, affordable. But not all heaters are created equal. Many budget models lack the safety features that matter most when you're trapped indoors during a storm. And when you're counting on that heater to keep you alive, there's no margin for error. Here's the danger. Cheaper models often don't have oxygen depletion sensors, flame failure shutoffs, or tip-over protection. That means if the heater malfunctions or the oxygen level drops in a sealed room, carbon monoxide can quietly fill the space. And the invisible threat? You won't see the gas. You won't smell the danger. You won't know it's happening until your body starts to shut down. Carbon monoxide poisoning is fast, silent, and unforgiving. Early symptoms feel like a headache or dizziness, things you might blame on stress or cold. But once it progresses, it hits hard: confusion, unconsciousness, even cardiac arrest. In 2021, winter storms knocked out power for millions. Emergency rooms across Texas, Missouri, and Oklahoma reported a surge in CO poisoning cases, many linked to indoor propane heaters, the kind people assumed were safe enough. Here's what fails: no shutoff valve, no ventilation alert, no flame control. These heaters don't protect you, they expose you. So what's the safer path? Only use CSA-certified indoor-safe propane heaters with automatic shutoff sensors and a visible flame. Crack a window, monitor CO levels with a detector, and never sleep with a propane heater running. Because in winter survival, heat is life. But the wrong heater doesn't just fail you, it betrays you quietly and completely. Number 2, basic snow brushes. You grab it in a rush brush in one hand, keys in the other. The snow's piling up on your windshield, and that cheap plastic snow brush feels like a quick fix. But the moment you scrape, the bristles snap, the handle bends, and now you're stuck blind, cold, and exposed to the storm. Most people treat snow brushes like throwaway tools. They're cheap, lightweight, and sold at every gas station. Under $10 you think, how bad can it be? But when the real cold hits, when the ice is thick and the wind is cutting, that cheap brush becomes a brittle liability. Here's what they don't tell you. Plastic becomes fragile in sub-zero temperatures, and the lower the quality, the faster it fails. Those short, stiff bristles, often glued in, not molded. One solid sweep across frozen glass, and they shear right off. The handle? Usually hollow plastic, thin, bendable, and prone to cracking under pressure. And the invisible danger? You won't notice the bristles loosening. You won't feel the handle weakening. You won't realize it's failing until your visibility vanishes. That moment matters more than people think. Driving with fogged, iced, or only partially cleared windows isn't just inconvenient, it's deadly. Especially for anyone over 45, where vision slows, reaction time drops, and cold-induced stiffness makes movement harder. In 2021, a severe winter surge across the Midwest caused thousands of accidents. Police reports cited dozens of crashes caused by improperly cleared windshields, and most of those drivers were using cheap, broken snow brushes. Here's what fails: short handles, stiff bristles, brittle plastic. They're designed for price tags, not performance. So what's the alternative? Invest in a reinforced aluminum snow brush, extendable, with foam grips for control and a squeegee head for visibility. Even better if it's rated for sub-zero conditions like the kind truckers rely on. Because in winter survival, it's not just about keeping warm, it's about being able to see. And a $5 brush that fails could cost you the road or your life. Number 3. Thin sleeping bags. You roll it out, zip yourself in, and for the first few minutes, it feels fine. But as the cold creeps in, the insulation fades, and suddenly, that thin sleeping bag feels like a paper shell. In freezing temperatures, that's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Most people buy these bags because they're labeled compact, ultralight, or emergency rated. But what they don't realize is that many are tested for survival, not comfort. That means you might stay alive barely, but you won't sleep, and your body will be in a constant fight to keep warm. For anyone over 45, this is even riskier. As we age, our ability to regulate body temperature drops. A sleeping bag that fails to trap heat can trigger hypothermia, slow heart rate, or joint stiffness by morning. And the invisible danger? You won't feel the heat leaving until it's gone. You won't see your core temperature dropping. You won't hear your body begging for warmth. But at Island, studies show that even mild hypothermia, just a 2-degree drop, can cause shivering, confusion, and increased cardiac stress. Seniors are especially at risk when circulation slows during sleep. During the 2021 Texas blackout, dozens of survival sleeping bags were tested in real homes. Many thin bags labeled cold weather failed completely once indoor temps hit the 32nd. Here's what fails. Single-layer polyester, no draft collar, flat insulation. They trap nothing and leak everything. What's the safe path? Invest in a 0-degree mummy bag with real insulation, synthetic or down, and make sure it has a hood, draft tubes, and a snug fit. Because in a winter emergency, your sleeping bag isn't just a blanket, it's your last layer between life and cold. Number 4. Emergency candles. You strike a match, light the wick, and for a moment, the room glows soft and steady. That flicker feels safe, like control in the chaos. But within minutes, the flame dims, flickers, and dies. That so-called emergency candle? Gone. Fast. And the darkness returns colder, heavier, and far more dangerous. Emergency candles are sold as must-haves, simple, cheap, reliable. But most people don't realize that many of these candles are made with low-grade wax, weak wicks, and burn times that barely stretch beyond an hour. In a blackout or winter storm, that short lifespan isn't just disappointing, it's risky. For anyone over 45, cold darkness hits harder. Eyes struggle to adjust, joints stiffen, blood pressure drops. If the candle is your only light and heat source, the risk of disorientation, falls, or even hypothermia skyrockets, especially in unfamiliar spaces or during long power outages. And the invisible threat? You won't see how quickly the wax pools instead of burning. You won't feel the wick failing until the flame collapses. You won't notice the instability until the candle tips. During recent winter blackouts, many households discovered their survival candles lasted barely 90 minutes. Some produced heavy smoke, others leaked hot wax across furniture, and a few tipped over, entirely turning a safety tool into a fire hazard. Here's what fails. Unstable bases, low melt wax, cheap metal holders, no safety testing. These aren't survival tools, they're dollar store traps. So what's the safer path? Use long-burning emergency candles, the kind made from beeswax or liquid paraffin, sealed in enclosed, tip-resistant containers. Choose models with 8 to 12-hour burn times. Or better yet, upgrade to battery-powered LED lanterns with long shelf life, no smoke, and zero fire risk. Because when the lights go out, what you light shouldn't leave you guessing. It should guide you, not betray you. Number 5. Zippo lighters. You flick it open, strike the flint, and hear that signature click. For a second, there's flame, then nothing. Just cold metal in your hand and fuel that's vanished. In a winter survival situation, that kind of failure isn't just frustrating, it can be fatal. Zippo lighters are legendary, trusted by soldiers, campers, and collectors. But what most people don't know is that Zippos are notorious for leaking fuel over time, even unused. And in freezing weather, that iconic flip-top becomes more style than survival. Here's the science. Zippos use liquid lighter fluid, not pressurized gas. That fuel evaporates quickly, especially if the seal isn't airtight. Leave it packed in your gear for a week? It's probably dry. Now imagine you're in a snowstorm, trying to start a fire, and the one thing you trusted gives you nothing. And the invisible danger? You won't smell the fuel loss, you won't feel the evaporation, you won't see the failure until your hands are shaking from cold. For seniors, this risk hits harder. Older hands are slower to respond, more sensitive to cold. If your fire source fails, hypothermia isn't far behind. In survival tests, dozens of pre-packed Zippos failed to ignite after just 3 days of sitting unused even at room temperature. In cold conditions, the failure rate jumps fast. Here's what fails: evaporated fuel, stiff flints, cold stiffened fingers. It's not about design, it's about real-world reliability. So what's safer? Carry a butane torchlighter or waterproof matches. Better yet, use a ferro rod with cotton tinder, zero fuel, zero leak. Always works in cold. Because in a survival moment, you don't need cool. You need fire. And fire that works when your life depends on it. Number 6, hot water bottles. You fill it up, seal the cap tight, and slide it under the blanket. For a while, it's warm, comforting even, but then it leaks, or worse, bursts. And now your emergency heat source has turned into a soaking, freezing trap. Hot water bottles feel like an old-school winter essential, simple, low-tech, and harmless. But most people don't realize how dangerously unreliable they become during freezing emergencies, especially the cheap rubber ones sold in stores today. Here's what happens. Repeated exposure to boiling water and cold storage degrades the rubber, causing cracks, thinning, and silent wear. The seams weaken, the cap loosens. You don't notice until your blanket is wet, your clothes are soaked, and now you're colder than before. And the invisible danger? You won't feel the rubber softening over time. You won't see the seam stress after each refill. You won't hear it crack until you're already freezing. For seniors, this is especially risky. Wet clothes in a cold room accelerate heat loss, making hypothermia far more likely. As circulation slows with age, even mild exposure can become life-threatening. In 2022, multiple emergency rooms across the U.S. reported burns, blisters, and hypothermia cases linked directly to ruptured hot water bottles used during power outages. These aren't rare accidents, they're quietly common. Here's what fails: thin rubber, weak seams, low-grade caps, no insulation layer. They're made for comfort, not crisis. So what's the safe path? Use a reinforced silicone hot water bottle rated for high heat, pressure-tested, and with a secure screw-top seal. Wrap it in a towel, and never place it directly on bare skin. Or better yet, replace it with microwavable heat packs or battery-powered warming pads designed for emergencies. Because in survival, staying warm isn't just about comfort, it's about staying alive. And when everything else fails, the one thing that shouldn't betray you is the heat source closest to your skin. Number 7, plastic snow shovels. You step outside, snow up to your knees, and you grab the tool that's supposed to dig you out, a plastic snow shovel. Lightweight, easy to lift, sold everywhere. But with one heavy scoop, the blade cracks, the handle bends, and now you're stuck in the cold, buried, and exposed. Plastic snow shovels feel harmless. They're cheap, brightly colored, marketed as backsavers. But what they don't tell you is that plastic becomes brittle in extreme cold. One dip in temperature, and that same shovel becomes a ticking time bomb. Here's what happens. You hit packed snow or hidden ice, and the stress point snaps either at the blade or the handle joint. And now your emergency escape tool is nothing but broken plastic in your hand. And the invisible danger? You won't hear the crack until it's too late. You won't see the fracture forming. You won't feel the failure until you're stranded in a whiteout. For seniors, this isn't just frustrating, it's medical. Shoveling is already dangerous for anyone over 45. Add cold, exhaustion, and sudden equipment failure, and you've got a recipe for muscle strain, falls, or worse, a heart attack. In 2022, multiple ERs across the Northeast reported injuries linked directly to broken snow tools, mostly plastic blades that gave out mid-use. What fails? Cheap molded plastic, weak joints, no metal reinforcements. They're designed for cost, not crisis. So what's the safer path? Choose metal blade snow shovels with reinforced fiberglass or aluminum handles. Look for D-grips and riveted joints. Yes, they're heavier, but they don't betray you when every second counts. Because in a snow emergency, a plastic shovel doesn't dig you out. It digs your risk in deeper, and if you thought that was bad, just wait. Because the next item isn't just a disappointment, it could leave you completely helpless when you need power the most. Before we go further, if this is opening your eyes, don't risk missing what's next. Hit subscribe right now and tap like so more people can avoid the silent failures sitting in their kits. Number 2. Stainless steel thermos. You twist the lid, and a wave of steam rises clean, comforting, and warm. The liquid inside is still hot, hours later. No wires, no batteries, no noise. Just heat that stays with you, even when the temperature outside is trying to steal it. In winter survival, some tools are loud, complicated, and breakable. But a vacuum-sealed stainless steel thermos is none of those things. It's quiet, it's simple, and when everything else fails, it just works. Here's what makes it powerful. The vacuum insulation between its double walls prevents heat from escaping. That means boiled water stays hot for 12 to 24 hours, depending on quality. In a blackout, snowstorm, or roadside emergency, that one thermos becomes more than just a drink holder, it becomes a lifeline. For seniors, warm liquids aren't just comfort, they're medicine. Hot tea or water helps maintain core body temperature, improves circulation, and reduces joint stiffness. When power goes out and the room turns cold, sipping heat from a thermos can delay hypothermia more effectively than a blanket alone. And here's the invisible benefit. You won't see the heat staying in. You won't feel the layers working. You won't hear it. But hour after hour, it holds the line. Emergency experts often recommend thermoses not just for hydration but to store boiled water for wound cleaning, rehydrating dry meals, or making instant soups when stoves are down. No batteries, no leaks, no failure points, and the durability? Almost unmatched. A good stainless steel thermos can survive drops, snow, rough storage, even years in a cold basement. It doesn't freeze, doesn't corrode, doesn't quietly expire. So what's the safe path? Invest in a double-wall vacuum-insulated model with a wide mouth and steel interior. Brands used by mountaineers and medics. Something that doesn't look flashy but never lets you down. Because when the cold is closing in, the fire you carry with you shouldn't flicker. It should stay sealed, safe, and warm. Number 1. Wool blanket. You unfold it, and it feels heavy in your hands. Not scratchy solid, grounded. It doesn't crinkle. It doesn't tear. And no matter how cold the air around you gets, the warmth inside that wool blanket holds steady. For generations, military-grade wool blankets have done one thing better than almost anything else. Keep people alive in brutal cold. No batteries, no wires, no fuel. Just raw insulation that works when everything else stops. Unlike fleece, polyester throws, or emergency space blankets, wool does something rare: it insulates even when wet. That means if you're caught in snow, rain, or just sweating under layers, the wool keeps holding heat. And for anyone over 45, that's not just a benefit, it's protection. Seniors lose body heat faster, especially during sleep. Wool regulates body temperature gently, without overheating or chilling. It's breathable, yet thermal by nature, helping your heart, joints, and circulation stay stable in cold. And here's the invisible benefit. You won't see the warmth held in the fibers. You won't hear it guard your core. You won't feel the defense happening, but your body does. In military tests, soldiers exposed to sub-zero nights with only one layer of insulation lasted up to 3x longer in wool than synthetic materials. During the 2021 winter storm in Texas, countless households that lost power turned to old wool blankets passed down for decades, and they worked. Here's why it lasts. Naturally flame, resistant, tightly woven, zero electronics, no moving parts. Wool doesn't rot, doesn't short out, doesn't silently fail. And unlike space blankets that rip, or sleeping bags that compress and lose warmth, wool stays functional year after year. If you store it right, dry, folded, sealed, a good wool blanket will outlast your tent, your heater, even your car battery. So what's the safe path? Look for 80% plus wool content, military surplus grade or higher. Avoid decorative throws. You want weight, density, and function, not fluff. Because when the storm hits, and the power's gone, and your body is on its own, a real wool blanket isn't just comfort. It's survival, wrapped around your shoulders. So now you've seen it, the winter gear that looks reliable, but breaks when it matters most. The cheap tools, the silent failures, the products that sit quietly in your kit, waiting to let you down. And the worst part? Most people never find out until it's already too late. When the lights are out, when the cold has crept in, when there's no heat and no help coming, but not you. Now you know what to look for, and more importantly, what to walk away from. Because real survival isn't about packing the most gear, it's about packing the right gear, the kind that lasts, the kind that protects, the kind that doesn't quit when your body is already pushed to its limits. Your kit should be your shield, not your trap. And if this video opened your eyes even once, hit like to help others avoid the same mistakes. And hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning. I'll keep guiding you toward the tools that work, the ones worth trusting, and the ones that will still be there when the cold comes back next year. Because when it comes to survival, comfort is nice, but reliability is everything.